And so, as the story became more and more intricate, the story of Adam, Jessica, and Amara took on unexpected and complex hues, revealing a tangle of emotions and uncomfortable truths that no one could have ever predicted. After Amara returned to Uganda, Adam and Jessica, still marked by that pain mixed with guilt, realized that their experience could not remain an isolated and silent episode. The need to tell what had happened became almost a moral duty. They had to reveal the dark mechanisms that had allowed a criminal network to exploit the genuine desire of those who wanted to adopt, disguising it as an act of love. In the months that followed, the couple immersed themselves in a research journey, contacting journalists, activists, and international authorities to reconstruct every detail. It was during this period that they met Francesca Bianchi again, also known as Karen among colleagues for her determination and disarming smile, a woman whose passion for justice was contagious. With her guidance, they learned of a well-organized network, capable of manipulating documents and feelings, that for years had been tearing children away from their legitimate family contexts to circulate them on the black market of international adoptions. During a long evening spent in a modest coffee shop in a Tuscan town, Adam and Jessica listened attentively to Karen's story. She explained that, behind the apparent efficiency of agencies like Adozione Internazionale Serenita and European Adoption Consulting, there were organizations with shady connections that exploited the desperation of parents in developing countries. It's a well-oiled system, Karen said, where every document, every promise, is designed to deceive. Parents, so eager to give love to a child, don't realize that they are, inadvertently, feeding a criminal machine. Karen's story opened Adam and Jessica's eyes to a much broader and more disturbing dimension of the phenomenon. Every little detail, every inconsistency in the official documents, was now traced back to a series of fraudulent maneuvers that undermined the very concept of adoption. The little girl they had thought they were saving had become a symbol of the fragility of a corrupt system. But the story didn't end there. In a series of meetings with families who had also been deceived, the couple uncovered chilling testimonies. Parents who had been given false promises and then, in the deafening silence of courtrooms, had found themselves fighting to get their children back. A mother in India described, in a trembling voice, how agencies had insisted that the move to America was temporary, only to vanish and leave the family without explanation. A father in Ukraine, meanwhile, had spent years desperately searching for a document proving the adoption was true, but had never received a response. These stories, which seemed almost surreal, helped create a mosaic of suffering and deception that went far beyond Amara's case. Meanwhile, Adam and Jessica, despite their pain and confusion, began to find a sense of purpose in their struggle. They decided to document everything: interviews, recordings, excerpts from official documents. Every piece of the puzzle was carefully collected. On a warm summer morning, sitting in their Tuscan living room, they organized a small support group of other adoptive couples, lawyers, and journalists. The goal was twofold: to offer emotional support to those who, like them, had lived the shattered dream of a perfect adoption, and at the same time to shine a light on a system that, beneath the veneer of legality, hid criminal and inhuman practices. Interviews with affected families revealed a surprising variety of reactions. Some parents felt betrayed, others even mired in the bureaucracy of a justice system that seemed more interested in protecting agencies than in safeguarding children's rights. The conversations were filled with tears and anger, but also with a shared desire for justice. Each testimony added new nuances to an already complex story, and in those words, often filled with bitterness, one could glimpse the strength of a community that did not want to give in to injustice. A particularly touching moment occurred during a meeting organized in Florence, where a young woman said that she had learned by chance, during a visit to an antiques market, that she had some clippings of old documents that proved the connection with her biological family. Those fragments of paper, yellowed by time, represented for her the key to rediscovering her roots. That moving story made everyone present reflect: identity and family ties are precious gifts that no document can replace. There were also moments of more bitter reflection. One evening, during a long video conference with an FBI official, the background of the entire operation was exposed. The official explained how, after years of investigations, they had managed to bring down a part of the criminal empire thanks also to the reports of courageous citizens. "It was a team effort," he said in a serious tone, "and even today we cannot stop. There are hundreds of children waiting to find their families, and every day we work to give them that chance." These words, despite their cold bureaucratic nature, had a profound impact on Adam and Jessica, who couldn't wait to be able to contribute concretely to changing things. In parallel with these investigations, the international community began to move to impose stricter regulations on international adoptions. Non-governmental organizations and institutions in the countries affected by this phenomenon publicly denounced the unfair practices and called for greater transparency. The media pressure grew, and soon the voices of those who, like Adam and Jessica, wanted every child to be able to grow up knowing where they came from were heard. In this climate of renewed fervor, several conferences were held in which experts in international law, representatives of adoption agencies and activists shared their experiences and proposals to avoid future abuses. Another important turning point in the story was the personal awakening of the two adoptive parents. Adam, who until then had tried to maintain a certain emotional distance to protect himself from the pain, began writing a diary. In those pages, written with a shaky but determined hand, he found space to express the internal conflict that gripped him, the unconditional love for Amara, mixed with a sense of impotence in the face of a system that seemed to crush him. Jessica, on the other hand, dedicated herself to organizing small meetings with other adoptive families, creating a support network that went far beyond the simple exchange of experiences. "We must stay united," she often repeated, "because every child, every family, deserves to know the truth." The path of reporting and seeking the truth was not without obstacles. On numerous occasions, Adam and Jessica clashed with officials who seemed more interested in closing the case quickly than in bringing justice. The investigations, in fact, proved long and tiring, crossing national borders and shedding light on a much larger and more insidious reality. Each new document discovered, each testimony collected, was analyzed with meticulousness, and often the couple found themselves having to face new bureaucratic challenges that put their determination to the test. Despite everything, the experience changed them profoundly. That story led them to reflect on the very meaning of family, which is not only a blood bond, but also the love and mutual support that is created over time. In an interview with a specialized magazine, Adam declared, "We learned that family is made of choices, mistakes, forgiveness, and courage. You cannot build a true bond on false foundations." Those words, full of truth and humanity, resonated in many other hearts, fueling the hope that one day the system could be reformed to truly protect the most vulnerable. Thus, Amara's story, with her wounds and scars, became a symbol of a battle that was not just about a couple or a child, but an entire system that needed to be renewed. Adam and Jessica continued to work side by side with activists, authorities, and families in difficulty, trying to give voice to those who had been silenced. And while the path to justice was long and full of pitfalls, every small step, every meeting, every encounter represented a victory against injustice. The path of denunciation was thus intertwined with a more personal and intimate dimension, that of rebirth after pain. Among the many difficult moments, there were also moments of light, in which solidarity and sharing became the true lifeblood. One of these was when a family from the Midwest, who had experienced a similar event, organized a gathering to tell their stories. The testimonies, full of emotions and renewed hopes, created a climate of great humanity and awareness, making everyone understand that, despite everything, there is always a way to rebuild and heal. Today, while the international adoption system is still being revised, Amara's story and that of many other families continue to live in the collective memory. Adam and Jessica, now symbols of resistance and change, have decided to dedicate part of their time to training and information.